Hello and welcome to another episode here of Edunates on my YouTube channel. As always, we're talking about all things finance, politics, anything that's going on in the world that's going to affect your financial life. We do a lot of content over on TikTok and then bring you over here to provide you with a more in-depth understanding of my thoughts and opinions of what's going on. As ever with any of my videos, it's not financial advice. It's just me sat here telling you what I think is going on with the world, really. Now, today we've got a bit of more of a different conversation. It's more in regards to what's going on in politics in Pakistan. So let's get into it. So, as you're probably aware by now, Imran Khan has been ousted. And as we explained over on TikTok, something doesn't smell quite right. Let's just say that way. Let's take a look and we see what really is going on. So if I go on to Google at the moment and I look Imran ousted, it's pretty much in every single article out there. You can see here, never of such crowds, Imran Khan as supporters protest his ouster. We'll come back to that in a second. Imran Khan ousted as Pakistan's PM after vote. Pakistan political crisis. Imran Khan threatened to impose martial law, documents suggested. Shehbaz Sharif chosen as PM after week-long uncertainty. Now, there's a couple of ones that really stand out here. Is never have such crowds come out in support of a protest. Let's have a look. How big are these crowds? Okay, you're right. They are pretty spontaneously big crowds, correct. Interesting. Okay, so, well, what is actually going on and why is this important? Well, as we explained before, Imran Khan basically didn't side with the US when they requested to basically condone what was going on in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. They essentially took a neutral stance where the US were pushing for them to take a stance to condone what was going on. Now, Imran Khan's attitude was basically, why do we have to have the same opinion as you? Which is completely fair. Everyone has different opinions on what's going on. We know through the media that one side is proposing that this is working this way and another side is proposing this is working this way, and you get completely conflicting stories of what's actually going on. So do we actually know what's going on? And does Imran Khan and Pakistan have a right to say, well, this is our opinion and at this stage we're not condoning what's going on? Now, we've had enough stories to say that the Ukraine-Russia conflict isn't as straightforward as we think, right? Let's be honest. There's a whole point of how if Ukraine were in NATO, they'll have bombs on the doorstep of Russia. There's things in regards to biological weapons moving on. There's all these steps to say that, well, hang on a minute, it's not as straightforward. Now, no one wants war. But Imran Khan chose to take the stance of, we're not going to condone this at this stage. We're going to stay neutral from the situation. Okay, great. But what has carried on since that time is that basically he's got to a point where he's had a vote of no confidence from other politicians and been ousted from his position as Prime Minister. Now, what is so fishy about this situation, shall we say? What smells wrong about this situation? Well, it's come out of nowhere. He's regarded as one of the most respected politicians in all of the world. He truly does seem to have his country's best interests at heart. And suddenly, just like that. The real question is why? Well, the first thing we've got to think about is the strategic positioning that Pakistan has in regards to global trade routes and particularly with China. So let's have a look why China perhaps is potentially part of this situation. Why is Pakistan so important to China? Pakistan has also served as a conduit for China's influence in the Muslim world. China also has a consistent record of supporting Pakistan in regional issues. Pakistan's military depends heavily on Chinese armaments and joint projects of both economic and militaristic importance are ongoing. Okay, let's break that down a little bit. The world is not a good place right now, and there's potentially war on the horizon left, right and centre. Now, if China is arming Pakistan, I'll let you do the connect the dots on that one. Maybe the US might not be too happy with that. Who knows? But it just doesn't add up, does it? And let's have a look at, also you've got to consider, where's Pakistan's situation in Southeast Asia? Pakistan is located at a confluence of three vital regions of South, Central and West Asia and provides the shortest access to the sea for all landlocked countries of Central Asia besides China. The positioning of Pakistan is imperative in global trade. And when we're talking about potential food shortages, war on the horizon, this country is very important with what's going on in the world. It has strategic positioning. So if perhaps a certain prime minister wasn't in the best good books of one superpower, perhaps that superpower may want to remove and put a prime minister in that is siding with that position. Who knows? The reality is something, as we expressed, doesn't sound right. Imran Khan was perfectly moving in, perfectly working well as things were and as things standard. The population clearly, by what we're seeing, is in support of him. This brings me on to the real point of all this. Democracy. What is democracy? And more importantly, and I say this very strongly, does democracy even exist? If you have a politician, a prime minister, in power with the support of his people, and overnight, literally we're talking overnight, couple of days, he's ousted from his position when it's quite clear the country wants him as his leader. He is a democratically elected leader. And you can just oust him like that. And there's this question across many sources, including from Imran Khan, that there is foreign intervention in ensuring that this has occurred. What is democracy? Is democracy just a puppet? Are you just a puppet for democracy? Is that what it is? Do we actually have a choice in what's going on? Or is it we have a choice to a certain extent as long as the person that's in power suits to the liking of other superpowers? I just think that, I pointed this out in my TikTok over the last year or two. There's just so many things that have occurred that just doesn't add up, that don't make sense. And it feels more and more the politicians being put in place, if they have actual substance, they're taken away. Let's be honest here, right? You look at the Chinese Communist Party, Xi Jinping. Wonderful leader. He looks after his people, but yet the West provides absolutely negative press left, right and centre because it's a communist regime. Putin is considered in some capacity a communist regime in some capacity. But yet you don't see him as a puppet, do you? You don't see Xi Jinping as a puppet. You didn't see Imran Khan as a puppet. But do you see Joe Biden as a puppet? Do you see Boris Johnson as a puppet? Do you see the new Pakistani Prime Minister as a puppet? Do you see Justin Trudeau as a puppet? The more and more we see this and we think about democracy, we start to think, well, hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. Our leaders seem to be put in place by other powers that be every 4 years. Or as we're seeing here, it doesn't even matter if you're not even in for your 4 years or whatever it may be. It might be the case that, well, actually, no, you're just going to get ousted if you're not towing the line of what's wanted from other states. Or in particular, the westernized countries, are they actually owned by corporations? You know, the corporations have to say on lobbying to get these people in power to just do what they want for them. They're paid to do it. God knows how many backhanders there are left, right and centre in politics. But for me, it just doesn't fit to the fundamentals of what democracy is. Like, actually, let's find out a definition of democracy. That's a great one, isn't it? There's me chatting away here. Definition of democracy. A system of government by the whole population or all the eligible members of state, typically through elected representatives. A system of parliamentary democracy. Control of an organisational group by the majority of its members. The intended extension of industrial democracy. As far as I can see, it basically means the majority of people out there elect who they think should be the person to lead their country. But in most countries, we're given two options, one or the other. How does this affect us? That's what it comes down to. Okay, I think we sometimes just sit back and say, oh, well, it is what it is. But we've got to think about, okay, how does that affect us? Now, this is a finance channel. You know, unfortunately, at the moment, there's so much going on in the political world that changes what's going on for our lives moving forward in regards to finance. So the way that I see this, you know, because we all want to live the best life possible for our families, and that means we ensure that we can earn enough money and invest enough money to live the lives that we want to live. With all this political disruption, all that it means is the countries that we're living in aren't necessarily moving in the direction they should economically. And for us to live the best lives possible, our countries need to be moving in the optimal direction, because that encourages growth within the country and then in turn encourages a better life for its citizens. And this isn't just about Pakistan or the UK or the US. This is relevant to everyone. You know, this channel is about providing information where you guys can make optimal decisions with your financial life. When there's so much going on, smoke screens left, right, left here, right here, left here, right here, things going on, you know, even like Will Smith punching Chris Rock at the Oscars, right? You're just being moved away from what's actually going on in the media. The reality is, there's a reason why some of this stuff is going on. It's because we are on the cusp of a big change. What we believe is, and I believe is, the fourth industrial revolution, a technocratic evolution, so to speak, where we are surrounded by technology, where the financial system is going to change. And if the financial system is going to change, then I think we need to consider, what is it going to be and how does it fit into this whole narrative. So stay tuned on this channel and you're going to find out more about that. Give this video a big like, because it helps with the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Hope this helps.